Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogboat333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, the new and last days of Europe, the spooky one, right? I remember. In last video, started working on our economy and all that good stuff, and we're kind of pushing forward as hard as we can, and as long as we can. So yeah, let's get to it. Our economy is coming along. We're doing our best to get our remigration efforts going. There's only so much we can do right now, but we finish up our economy pretty nicely. So the question is, do we want to do the new union or back on the world stage? I'm kind of tempted to do the new union, but I'll do some more thinking on that. It looks like we can get let's get working on some more military stuff before that. Let's expand the militia starting off. The militia system we have now was good for raiding neighbors and fighting against other militias, but things have changed. We're now creating a professional army to compete with other professional armies. Groups of ill-equipped troops grouped together by the locality with no regard to organizational structure are no longer acceptable. That doesn't mean we can't tweak them a bit to make them fit. The Red Army, as we wanted, is a professional force, yes, but it also is backed up by the numerous irregular forces in reserve. These will be called upon to fill the lines in the event of war. These irregular units are direct descendants of the militias, and we will fill the same purpose. Well, there we go. New Union has some ominous vibes these days. Yeah. Well, what are you going to do? Expand our agricultural. I want to check how the supply is doing. I want to get working on more railroads coming up. Looks like we got our railroads more or less figured out. Try to do a little thing there. Probably go ahead and build a supply hub. Where's the VP here so I can... VP is over here in Tura. So it technically doesn't have a supply hub yet. Actually, does it? It does. Okay. Train go boo. Who is this guy? So the Boers have gone neutral, it seems. Right, because they actually, South Africa kind of has some stuff to do after. Or some things that can change at least. Let's swap these guys over to our 20 wits. Send them onto some fronts. Through the hills. Let's ready the commissars. Commissars should not be employed to shoot those who run from the battlefield and persecute men who refuse to become soldiers. Such practices will only force our people to live in fear of us when we should be the ones giving them their freedom. Our commissars shall not be used as tools of terror. They will be advisors and guides to our men, thus building cohesion and raising morale. Two of the most important factors we will have to improve if we are to sufficiently strengthen our armed forces. lot of manpower issues. Coming along, which is good. Trying to up our birth rates as much as we can. Peter Zion would approve, methinks. Congo Civil War. We'll see what happens here. See, these guys haven't joined yet. Okay, the OFN supports these guys. Okay. I don't think I can repeat that for the YouTube audience, but pretty much. Let's do ideological struggle. We have no reason to believe our soldiers lack the motivation to fight, but reinforcing their ideological fervor will only help embolden them. They'll have to be reminded of the reason they fight. Our message to the men will be projected loud and clear. You not just fight for the Red Army, you fight for the revolution itself. Yep, and the Germans are making their play right now for the Congo. The East is kind of doing their own free little thing. That's nice. Improve worker training. Is our academic base gone up yet? Not yet. Well, it's going to within this video. Same with equipment, it looked like. And military professionalism will eventually get there. Probably get rushing towards that as much as we can. Let's go through the hills. Our forces are extremely adept at fighting in the harsh and peculiar terrain of eastern Siberia. Unfortunately, Russia's a big place and contains many types of terrain for our local militias that our local militias are inexperienced in. If we wish to win, then we must correct this. We'll find mountains and plains, however few in number, to send our troops there for maneuvers. They will learn to live in the unfamiliar areas, they will seem to make their homes, and they will learn to fight in them. The enemies we face in the swaths of occupied Russia will find themselves confronted by the forces as adept as they are in the battlefield. Excellent, excellent, excellent. We're kind of rushing through this tree, actually. We got better artillery. We can work towards. So let's do it. In fact, let's get working on improvements for all that artillery. The African Strait. Let's declare war on these guys. Sessoko is trying to pull something out like he did in real life, but looks like it's going to be a lot harder for him because these guys are only fighting over here. Improved academic base. That is something to be celebrated. Primary schooling has been accomplished. Let's go over the valleys. Remember the hills? That was only the first part. Now we train even more. More exercises, more courses, and more requirements. We'll have the most prepared army we can field, and we'll bring the revolution to all the lands of Russia. But we won't just have survival courses in our training camps. We'll also introduce new concepts to the recruits in our existing units. The implementation of armored vehicles will be a topic, as well as artillery and support battalions. Everything the old Red Army did, we must do, and more so. Even a militiaman must understand that war isn't a test of men, it's fought with weapons as well, and these weapons can give us a victory. There we go. Japan's having some power projection over here. Who wanted Madagascar? OFN guy. Right. Next, let's do the next tech. Our debt is still coming along. Credit rating might eventually improve at this rate. Though we're behind the last series that we did, I know. Euro Military District. It's looking pretty thick. I think they have the edge right now in the West versus East battle. Offensive line, we will prepare over here. So Kev, I'm curious. I know you're most excited for Guangdong over here, but after that, what country are you most excited for content-wise? Partisans no more. Extra lane doctrines, heck yeah. Our partisans were fast to become a feared force to face on the battlefields of Russia, but they were always plagued by disorganization. They've been lions without leaders. However, they will soon be chained. The free partisan bands will be incorporated into our army, where they can be better coordinated. We are partisans no more. We no longer have to hide in the shadows. We can come out and bring the fight to our enemies. Revolution will be well defended and its people properly protected. Probably the UAR. That sounds like a ton bit far. Black Sand does look pretty interesting as well. What the fuck is that? The fuck is that? Elected with quotation marks? What? What's going on in Uruguay? Why can't I play them yet? Let's allocate education funding, poverty relief programs, land reform programs, probably having machinery as well. Black Sand, I don't know. The Angolan Civil War. That will divide the US and Japan's attention as well. Bay Africa is winning right now. Not getting effects from civilian or military austerity. Well, Krasnaya Armia Zvezk Silny. Every necessary improvement to our army has been completed. It now stands as an indomitable force, a force without an equal. Our soldiers, armed with their rifles and their revolutionary convictions, steadfastly await their opportunity to fight for our collective cause. Soon they will overcome all opposition, unite our people into the revolution. We're without a doubt that they will succeed. We now look forward to the day our soldiers return triumphant and can live alongside each other, united and free. Well, that's beautiful. We were talking about Black Santa after we talked about the UR. No, I was talking about Uruguay. Some weird shit was going on there. Some event popped up. That's what I was talking about, slash... I don't... I thought you were making a comment. I don't... What? I'm confused what happened, Kev. Yeah, the UAR. That seems interesting. The whole Middle East update seems like it's going to be pretty cool. Potentially. I'm curious at what Iran is going to look like content-wise, especially. That's what, has my attention. I think the country I'm most excited to see content for, probably Turkey. Turkey seems pretty interesting. Though Turkey, Italy, and France, all these countries seem like they're going to have some pretty interesting stuff going on. Movements of men of the 44th Battalion as they move across the obstacle course were less like soldiers and more like graceful but deadly acrobats. The troops moved in perfect timing across the obstacle course, leaping from hoop to hoop as though they were born on them, climbing barriers as though they were ladders. He smiled as he turned to Lieutenant Colonel Novikov. I must admit, Comrade Commander, your new logistical program has worked wonders on the Union. Savlin smiled. The soldiers in the Red Army are just another kind of worker, but instead of creating value, they protect that value from the bourgeois thievery. Give them the decency that all workers deserve, and they will shine like all men can, if given the chance. Improving material conditions creates material reward. Be just a 16-frame gif of Khomeini sucking. Nice. Let's reach out to the world. We can not hope to bring socialism to Russia without aid from outside our borders. We have to accept it from anywhere we can. So we must step out into that world and accept the help that we can, as long as it will benefit our revolutionary cause. One day the Russian proletariat will once again become the vanguard of the workers' global revolution, but first International Workers' Alliance and International Workers' Brotherhood is needed. We shall stand opposed to the national enmity and discord to national exclusiveness. We are internationalists. What's going on? Philippines is still, pretty brutally led, it looks like. I'm mentally planning out the China game or the Japan game that I'm gonna be doing. Because I said a long time ago, I think it was like on my road to 1,000 subs, which I had it called. The 800 sub goal was going to be Japan, 900 was going to be Omsk, and 1,000 was going to be Tabby Komi. I did the 900 and 1,000 series, but not the 800. Partially because, well, better industrial equipment. Spectacular. Excellent, rather. Partially because I think I was going to play the Reformist guy, and at that time, I think he was broken. I think Japan is more or less fixed now, so I can play that again. And I'm not sure, the Winter's Shield will... I'm going to be playing that. That's what I'm trying to say. The Winter's Wind shielded Valeri Sublime to the bone as he walked to the makeshift piers of the Magadan dockyard, hands shoved in his overcoat pockets. His breath fading to mist as it left his mouth. His teeth chattered ever so slightly as he made his way across the pier of a small ship anchored at the end of a wind trail. Valeri had always loved the sea. His father had been in the Navy, and he once planned to join as well in his youth. He remembered the summer of his childhood, swimming with his friends in lakes, pretending to reenact famous battles of the war. It felt so long ago now, he thought, shaking his head. He had no time for this. General Secretary, the man at the end of the dock, James Shukov, a newly minted captain of the Red Navy, saluted. She isn't much to look at, I'm afraid, but she packs a punch. First Red Navy vessel built in God knows how many years now. Valeri nodded. Does she have a name, comrade? I'm told all ships need them. The men were hoping you'd be the one to name it, General Secretary. Comrade General Secretary. Savlin wasn't sure what to make of it. He wasn't an admiral nor a sailor, but if the people who believed in him desired it, then it would be done. He walked up to the edge of the deck for a moment, thinking. The word left his lips so fast the captain had to have wondered if he'd practice. Storozhevoy. Sentry. A good name, comrade. We can sell some more convoys. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then I can take that money whenever it's sold. Reaching out to the world. Could do back on the world stage or the new union. I think the new union is probably the better play. Let's do the new union. The revolution will have to have a fresh start to its foreign policy, one that's more orientated around the OFN. They may be tainted by capitalism, but they are the closest thing to a bastion of true freedom in this world. To not work with them would leave us at the mercy of the fascist imperialists that surround us. We'll have to swallow revolutionary pride and make friends with the enemy of our enemies. That honestly just makes the most sense to me. Germany appears to be recovering from a four-way civil war that resulted from the death of Adolf Hitler. From radio broadcasts received from Germany, there appears to be some student left-wing movements supporting reformists under Speer. But by and large, there do not appear to be any number of leftists in the country, Otto Brown said, pointing to Europe as Savin shook his head. Monitoring broadcasts and gathering intel on the global situation was not an easy task, but the Ministry of Foreign Affairs had worked day and night on uncovering global events, and Brown was simply explaining the most recent updates. And what of America? America, following their defeat by Japan, it appears that the public is losing faith in the bourgeois capitalist order, with their opponents forming the NPP against the unified liberal Republican Democratic coalition. Savin smiled. I assume there are many socialists in the party then. Perhaps we can send our greeting to them. Unfortunately, it appears that there are a good number of socialists in the NPP. There are equally large number of reactionaries and fascists who oppose liberalism for going too far, instead of not going far enough. Both parties are divided over the treatment of black proletarians by the white bourgeois, and the situation is growing more unstable by the day. The two men stared at the map and at each other. The two felt their hearts sink as they realized how alone the Leninist state was in the world. It's difficult treading the path of socialism in these times. Well, who's leading in? Right, George Wallace. Yeah. I mean, I'll blame them for being feeling down about it. Not gonna lie. Good news is our poverty rate is going very, very down. Pretty quickly, honestly. Well, oh no, true. Truly not good. Have you won yet, Mr. President? Evidently, I don't think George has quite yet. Well, this actually kind of seems to be a fun one to play. I mean, because Wallace can actually do an okay, not horrible path, depending on how you want to approach things. And you can go really, really downhill. But yeah. Anyway, sorry. Strike by George Wallace. To economic ties to the OFN, the Far East under control can look back in the prospect of foreign investments. This is considered less out of a want for letting the capitalist system bleed into the nation, more along the lines of being forced into cooperating with the capitalist forces that surround us on all sides. At least hostile, most favorable of these, though certainly not still friendly, would be the OFN. The Central Committee has agreed to send a request for the OFN to invest into the Republic. This will not be permanent affair. When the time comes, we will abolish these ties when they are no longer necessary to us. For the good of the revolution, however, we must seek aid wherever possible. At least he isn't Yaki, right? Yeah. At least he's not Yaki. I mean, I think out of... He's not even the worst member of the NPP, like, Othdem branch. I'm pretty sure that's gonna be revealed. That, from what I've seen of Schlafly, it's probably her. Like, because Wallace can at least potentially be okay. Schlafly, I think, is just gonna be a mess all around. It'll be an interesting mess. I might play that one day, if there is content for it, but still a mess. Papers shuffled as the Central Committee began their meeting, starting with the same informal discussions that started every meeting of the committee. But this meeting had the unusual characteristic of having on its agenda, first order of business be related to the recently arrived American envoy, consisting of diplomats and businessmen. They desired an audience with the Central Committee in private. When the committee agreed to the conditions, the envoy arrived in the conference room in fancy suits of leader, a diplomat calling himself John Doe, thanks the committee for giving a group an opportunity that would be beneficial to both our nations. Doe then cleared the floor, allowing for one of the uncomfortable businessmen to step forward. I'm a representative of the Disney Corporation, he said, speaking Russian, and my fellow diplomats proposed to offer an international exhibition that show off the qualities of both our nations. He then snapped the fingers, and two men came forward, handing out documents to the committee members. There's plans for an exhibition in Disneyland, depicting Russian culture, for another in Magadan, showcasing American culture. They'll be run by their respective governments. The exact details can be worked out to both our satisfactions. After a bit of questioning, Zeppelin asked for a moment of privacy, which the envoy respected. The bitches are going to fuck us with this. They'll fill the minds of our children with lies. And with our children's comfort, huh? Asked Bukhara Knight, his voice filled with sarcasm. As the committee argued, Zeppelin asked Brown, is it worth it? I'm skeptical of benefits. Brown responded, it will suddenly increase our economic output. After much discussion, the men were brought in and given the opinion of the committee. We'll do it. Zeppelin walked down the streets of Magadan, his entourage of friends and loyalists following him as he inspected various exhibits that had been set up by the Americans. He did have to admit, despite his skepticism, that it seemed to be a genuinely good idea. If we were men and women could finally witness the type of life it could have. A life where women would take the burden of the overworked kitchens would take the burden of it off the overworked housewife, where clothing could be both beautiful and comfortable, where a family could live in a big, comfortable home. Still, Zeppelin has problems. Walking to the art exhibit was like walking into the palace of a rich businessman. The art itself was less than up to his standards of quality. The music, while aesthetically pleasing, had an element of capitalistic worship. I did not even want to begin on the history exhibit that whitewashed Americans' role in world affairs, and to say nothing about their treatment of the Negro. But overall, it was interesting if nothing else. America's technological exhibits depicting their cars and planes were top of the line. After wandering in the exhibit, he and his party met with some American executives. After introductions, they began discussing ways to get equipment into the country. Better tractors, better medical equipment, oil drills, etc. It was a productive meeting and ended with all parties satisfied as to the payment of such services. Mr. Sabline? Asked one holding a metal can in his hand. Yes, asked Sabline, about to walk out of the meeting. Have you ever heard of Pepsi? I do not think I have. The man extended the blue and white can forward, smiling. Drink. I think you'll like it. Sabline eyed it with some suspicion, but eventually took the can and took a sip. What do you think? It's delicious. Do you have any more? Imagine Savin and Borman running each other at Disneyland. Oh my god. Yeah, that would be incredible. Someone needs to write an event like that. Susanna Pachora waved a fan across her face as she walked down the sidewalk of Disneyland, watching over the exhibitions. Sweat was pouring down her face, and she felt it in places she didn't realize she could sweat. Why did Savlin have to choose her, of all people, to come down here to this damnable hellscape? Couldn't he have picked Ron instead? It wasn't like she was a big fan of the idea to begin with. She sighed, fanning hard. She passed a Buryatia music exhibit. There's one good thing about this was that Americans would realize Russia was a diverse place. Russia and Buryatian culture often stood side by side, with experts on the countries making sure to clear any misunderstandings. She stopped in front of a military exhibit. In front, two soldiers of different genders spoke to a man jabbing a microphone in his face. So, Mr. Vladimir, responded the man broken English. So, Vladimir, what is it like in your nation? It is a place of diversity, a place where men and women are equal. Comrade Sabine led us to victory against oppressors and helped free the East's people. Petrora shuddered, walking away in disgust. She understood rationally this was important, that they had the support of the people. But this was disgusting. Parading her nation like some commodity to be sold to the highest bidder. Was this not a violation of Lenin's ideals? Suddenly she heard a voice. Mommy, Mommy, is she a soldier? Turning around, Susanna saw mother holding her child's hand. Yes, sweetie, are they not fascinating? Susanna sighed. Perhaps some good can come out of this, if nothing else. Damn you, Braun. Well, we're going to end it there, ladies and gentlemen. But thanks always for watching. If you like this video, like it. If not, dislike it. If you have any comments, feedback, and certainly leave comments section below. I read all comments I get. Appreciate any all feedback you might have for me. If you want to keep up to date with uploads, hit the sub button, maybe even notification bell. I upload weekdays as well as occasionally Saturdays. If you have any, if you want to see me do this live, I have a Twitch. If you want to chat or play games or be up to date on when I go live, I have a Discord. If you want to support me financially, I have a Patreon. If you want to see me do non-gaming related stuff, I have a second channel. All goes down in the description box below. Thanks always for watching, my friends. My name has been Mr. Dogbot333. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.